Welcome back, fight fans. We are the Unprofessional Experts. As per usual, I am JMC. This is Davo. Whole lot going on in the world of boxing. But before we get into that, go ahead, like, follow, subscribe, pick your favorite social media or pick your favorite podcast network and go ahead and listen. Just search the Unprofessional Experts podcast and get tuned right in. Has some really great fights last night, starting with the undercard before we get into that main event. We did have the successful beatdown of Rolly Romero versus Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and I just got a little tune I want to play for the big dog Rolly.
For the big dog Rolly.
He absolutely suffered a bad knockout stoppage loss. Rolly got the break speed off of him, man. How did you feel about that fight, bro?
I mean, yeah, that's it. That's pretty much all it was to it. Pitbull beat the brakes off of that man, and I'm not really a fan of Rolly. I'm not, man. He kind of been getting whooped, here, and I don't know why they keep putting him on these cards. Just Rolly ain't it. Rolly ain't it. I don't know why.
He suffered a brutal knockout loss at the hands of Gervonta Tank Davis and old man Barroso. He got a belt off of him, which was a disputed stoppage at that time.
Yeah, he was even getting his ass whooped by a 41-year-old, man.
And so he got the matchup with Pitbull, and I was actually hoping that Rolly was going to win that fight because I do think he's entertaining for boxing. He's a goofy, for sure. And so we need goofies around to make the sport entertaining, but Isaac Cruz, he did his thing. They call him Pitbull for a reason, so he absolutely got in there and dismantled Rolly.
And that's the thing. You can't go in there playing with Isaac, man. He don't be bull. He don't play. When he get in there, he's coming for you. He's coming for necks all day long.
He definitely did his thing. That was an interesting fight for sure. I liked what Isaac did. I don't know if we want a rematch or not. Do we want to see that again?
Between
Rolly and Cruz?
No, not at all. Not at all. Just let that one be, man.
Let that one be.
Yeah, Cruz did his thing. And see, here's the thing. I like Rolly's style.
I don't.
But hear me out. But you can't do that with everybody. Sometimes you got to be able to just box a little bit, take the power off and box a little bit. But he kind of has that. And then when you hear him, he's sounding off with every shot. It's like you can, especially with somebody like Pitt, just box that man. You see his style. You see how he's coming at you. Box a little bit.
Rolly's not the best boxer. So.
Clearly. Yeah, clearly.
He suffered a stoppage loss. He looked rough in there. He looked like he needed somebody to step in and help him out just a little bit before things got too bad.
Yeah, it got bad.
So that's what the ref did. Shout out to Rolly. Maybe he'll be back. Maybe he won't. Stacked division. And so there's a lot of options for Isaac Cruz.
He was calling folks out.
Who'd he call out?
Hey, I think he called out what'd he call out?
He called out the IBF guy, Sabriel Matias.
Yeah, that guy. I couldn't think of his name, but yeah, he called him, and Devin Haney, I believe. Yeah, I think he called out Devin Haney too.
I don't think he's got anything for Devin Haney.
Because Devin Haney is going to do the opposite of what Rolly did. Devin Haney is going to box him all day long.
He's going to move.
He's going to move. He's not going to stand there.
Not going to stand there and get beat up. So we'll see what happens with Isaac Cruz. Good, rough, rugged. He's a dog, and so there's always opportunities for those kind of guys who have those particular fight styles. So real dope co-main event. So going into the bloodbath of that main event, I truly did not expect this. Tszyu versus our late replacement in Sebastian the Towering Inferno Fundora. How do you feel about that?
It was a good fight. I didn't expect that good of a fight, but it was a really good, entertaining fight to watch. First 2 rounds definitely went to Tszyu. Definitely went to Tszyu, but then after that, it was all bad. I mean, because dude, he got elbows, split his head open, and man, once the blood started pouring, it was all bad. And I get it. I understand it because you really can't see. I mean, it's already bad enough with the sweat on your eyes, but when you got sweat and blood, and the blood was pouring down his face. I mean, so it's kind of hard to fight like that. But all credit to Tszyu. He was still in there, hanging in there, landing shots. He was still putting up a fight, a really good fight. I mean, I'm not just gonna say he was all out getting whooped, but clearly Fundora was winning the fight. I mean, he's 6'6". It's hard to reach him, hard to get to him. But only thing I wish Tszyu maybe took a step back because he kind of stayed in range the whole time, right? And you don't want to stay in range in front of the 6'6" tall range you got. Apparently, he had a 9-inch reach advantage on. He had a 9-inch reach advantage on Tszyu. So it's like, come on, you gotta step back a little bit.
That's not what he does. He's the Australian Mexican.
I get it, but the best fighters are able to adapt.
Yeah.
When you get in that ring and you really have the capability to adapt and to what's in front of you, that really makes you top tier. So
it'll be a learning experience for him for sure. You just can't walk everybody down. I liked what Tszyu did in the sense of he showed a lot of heart.
A lot of heart.
I think a lot of people would have just said, "Hey, I can't see. What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to fight?
Yeah.
Literally can't see this guy. He's tall. He's got the reach advantage.
It was all bad.
Fundora actually likes to fight on the inside and throw uppercuts, but he decided to use his brain. He stayed on the outside. He boxed. I actually really liked the way that Fundora took advantage of that matchup. He didn't see the blood and go fight on the inside and make it Tszyu's fight. Right. He used his range, his reach advantage. He stayed on the outside. He's 6'6", unnaturally tall for the weight class.
He stayed disciplined.
That's what he did. He stayed disciplined, and that's what he needed to do. Yeah. And he was able to become the new WBO, WBC super welterweight champion. I honestly had him getting knocked out in 2.
You had Fundora get knocked out?
I did. I thought Tszyu was going to be able to go in there and do his thing. They absolutely need a rematch.
Yeah, I would love to see that one again. Now that's one I would like to see again.
You can't he couldn't. He just couldn't see at all.
And it was unfortunate that just random elbow. But I mean, the tall dude coming down, But I will say, man, that fight was messy, man. It looked like 2 Walking Dead boxers, trying to fight each other.
Two gladiators.
Yeah, Fundora's mouth is leaking. Tszyu's head is leaking. But I would love to see a rematch.
The definition of blood, sweat, and tears, what it takes to become a champion in the brutal, unforgiving sport of boxing. I would like to see a rematch. But they're already talking about who's next. They had the big fish hop in the ring after the fight. Arrow of the Truth. Spence. Is he still the big fish?
Yeah, that's the only thing I had a problem with. It's like, you're not really the big fish no more. But he's still a big fish in boxing, but maybe not the big fish, in my opinion.
Spence was all smiles. He was happy to be back in the ring, back in the mix. Interesting to see how that actually plays out, because Terrence Crawford already took the necessary steps to be the mandatory challenger for the WBO title. And so he is actually already lined up to fight now Fundora, who he thought was going to be Tszyu, but now Spence is in the mix. And so I actually shared a clip earlier where Fundora mentioned he would actually prefer to fight Crawford. And so
he would rather than fight Spence?
That's what Fundora said in the post press conference. He said that he would rather fight Crawford, which I thought was very interesting. And so if you were able to pick, let's say, man, I got Spence in front of me, I got Crawford as an option, who would you rather lace him up with?
It's just Bud's skill set. That's the problem.
It's different.
It's different. It's different. He's got so much in his bag. He's kind of hard to deal with, as opposed to, I'm not going to call Spence a one-trick pony or nothing like that, because he's strong, good jab, good fundamentals, good defense, but Bud's bag is just crazy. He can do a lot. And so if I had to pick one, I mean, really, you don't really want smoke with either one of them, to be honest, because they're both elite fighters.
Top tier.
I would have to pick Spence.
I think the more winnable fight would be Spence for Fundora. If he just wants to get his belts taken away from him, he can go ahead and get in there with Crawford. But you know what?
But I think he has a shot with everybody just because of his physical stature.
Right. He's tall as shit.
He's tall. He's tall. Yeah.
He's like 7'20", and so it's really hard to match up with a guy whose arms are that long. It's like he showed his ability to box in his last fight, which is actually a new wrinkle in his game, and so that makes him a lot more dangerous than what he looked previously.
Man, if he really learns how to use that 9-inch, again, no Diddy. If he really learns how to use that 9-inch reach advantage that he has on a lot of these different type of guys, he's a problem for anybody. Spence, Crawford, anybody. So I would love to see it against Spence or Crawford. Honestly,
might be looking at the Fundora era. Are we looking at the Fundora era?
I'm not gonna go that far with it, but He looks good. He looks good.
I'd actually like to see a rematch, but basically Spence and Crawford are both vying for title shots at the next weight class up instead of fighting each other, which we were all waiting on that and just didn't happen. All good, no worries. Let's say that, you know, Spence doesn't get the fight. You know, what do we want next for Spence?
If he doesn't get the fight with Fundora?
With Fundora. Ooh. He doesn't take a lot of tune-ups. So
he doesn't take a lot. And I definitely don't want to see him back in with Crawford. Don't want to see that.
That's what we need to see. Crawford getting him up out of here one more time.
Why do we want to see that? I mean, that's you know, I think it's bad for boxing. If he does the same thing again, he puts it on Spence again like that. I mean, you almost ruin it could almost ruin a career. You know, you taking 2 ass whoopings like that. You know,
brutal beatdowns.
Yeah,
I can see that.
You know what I mean?
Spence doesn't want that work again. And I can understand that. Nobody.
So yeah, move on to Fundora. You know what I mean? Move on to whoever Tszyu, Keith Thurman. I don't care, but not Crawford.
I would say that Spence should fight Tszyu and Fundora could fight Crawford, and I think those would be 2 dope fights. And then the winners could fight each other. It's kind of for supremacy in the weight class. Do like a tournament style kind of thing. I think that would be dope.
I think it would be a tough fight for Crawford.
Against who?
Fundora.
No, Crawford is him.
Right, and I agree, but I just don't think he's easy to deal with for anybody in that division. At 6'6", that's not an easy W for anybody.
I got Crawford by stoppage, but
all right. I think well, here's the thing, and I think if anybody will stop him, it would be Errol Spence.
Errol Spence would stop Fundora.
Yes.
Interesting to see. We'll see what happens. I'm sure those matchups will get announced here in the next couple of weeks. Couple months. Hopefully it's a rematch first, but if not, there's potentially some big showdowns coming in the super welterweight division. That's 154 pounds. So speaking of big fights, we got a huge one coming up on Cinco de Mayo weekend. You have Tszyu Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia. There was a lot of chatter, a lot of talk about Canelo's next opponent, who he wanted to fight, who he didn't want to fight. If he's going to stay with PBC, go to the Zone, Metron. There was a lot up in the air about his opponent. So he's now fighting Jaime Munguia. He's going to stop this guy in like 3 rounds. What do you think about this matchup?
I disagree. I think people kind of sleeping on Munguia a little bit because he can fight. He's younger. He's strong. Okay, and then I'm kind of comparing him to say like how Canelo in his match with Charlo. Or in his match with, who else was it? Caleb Plant. I feel like those guys kind of gave him too much respect.
You have to.
No, you don't.
You absolutely have to. Or you're going to get hurt.
Did Bivol give him that type of respect? I don't think he did.
He boxed well, though.
Bivol, but it's a certain type of respect where you're not really fighting your fight. And that's what I think people like Charlo and Caleb Plant did. And I don't think Munguia does the same thing. Munguia is there to fight.
He's there to fight, but he has a chin-first defensive style in which he will get clipped because his chin is there to be hit. And I'm telling you, Canelo's going to come in there. He's going to clip Munguia. Munguia's going to take a dirt nap in the middle of that ring, and he's going to suffer his first knockout loss of his career. I actually don't like this fight for Canelo because I don't care for Munguia and his lack of defense. Pure at-heart Mexican style. In a bad way because he's not there to block any punches. He's blocking punches with his jawline, and it's gonna show against Canelo Alvarez. I really wish he would have picked a different opponent.
I think he's gonna give Canelo more problems than you're giving him. I think Munguia he's really good. I mean I think you kind of sleep on him a little bit. He's a good fighter. Not only that, I forget his name. What was his name? Their common opponent. What was his name? John Ryder. Okay. Munguia beat the brakes off of John Ryder.
I will say John Ryder is a nobody. I'll just throw that out there.
I'm just saying, is their common opponent. Now, Canelo beat him up too, but he didn't get him out of there. Munguia got him out of there.
Speaking of opponents, Munguia won his first title in 2018. So we're talking the better part of 6 years now. He's been fighting the John Ryders of the boxing world. And he finally takes, a step up to the big dog.
Big dog.
It's Canelo. I just don't think he's prepared based upon the guys on his resume. We're talking about Sergey Devryanchenko, Gabriel Rosado. It's a different tier of fighters between those guys, and Canelo is really a step down for Canelo. Between Charlo, Caleb Plant, those guys are superior boxers to Jaime Munguia. He's a champ. It's going to be a gritty fight. It's going to come forward, but I don't see how he doesn't get clipped and knocked out.
I don't know. Listen. I do think Canelo's going to win, but I see it being a better fight. I seen it being a better fight than you're giving it credit for.
Does it go to decision?
Maybe.
Nah.
I would say that somebody's going to get clipped, and it may be Canelo.
Does Canelo age show up? He's not really old, but he's got a lot of fights.
He's not. Yeah, he got a lot of wear and tear. So I think somebody does get clipped, but it may not be Munguia.
Munguia gets clipped, man. He goes away from here, man. He suffers a stop. He gets stopped. He doesn't get clipped. He gets stopped because he's got heart, right? He's a strong guy. He's gonna come forward. He's young. He's hungry. But he bit off more than he can chew.
He's bigger than Canelo. I think he's like 6 foot. Canelo's 5'8". I think he has a shot.
I don't know. I don't like Munguia, and there's a lot of people thinking that he's going to be effective. And I'm
one of them. I'm one of the people that think he's going to be. Again, I don't know if he's going to win this fight, but I do think he'll be effective.
I watched his last fight, and I was like, he's going to get folded up one day. And this is before
the John Ryder fight.
The John Ryder fight. I watched it, and I'm like, he's gonna get folded up one day because he's too easy to hit. And if somebody is gonna test your grit and your grind and what you're made of, I think Canelo can do it. Canelo might even carry him to where he doesn't get him out of there until mid to late rounds in the fight.
He might carry him for Cinco de Mayo.
Just for the Mexican culture, he's gonna let him live a little bit. But no way. Now, if Munguia does his thing, a lot of respect earned because Canelo is essentially a legend, and he is that guy in the sport of boxing. And so, big ups to him if he's able to even be remotely successful.
For sure.
I don't think he will be. But, just talking about Canelo and his opponents, the world wanted to see him fight other guys. He chose who he chose. I think he's done enough in the sport to where he can pick and choose.
Yeah.
I think that status has to be earned. And I think Canelo's done that. So it is what it is. He's fighting.
But that's the thing. I don't really think this fight is just a cherry pick or a tune up or somebody just to kind of walk over. I don't think this is that type of fight. This guy can fight. Munguia is a fighter. No, we gonna see. We gonna see. But I think actually this one's the day before Cinco de Mayo. I think it's May 4th.
May 4th. Yep.
Yeah,
that weekend.
It's May 4th. But we gonna see. I kind of see it. I see him putting up a good fight. Maybe not winning the fight, but putting up a good fight.
We'll see. I think he goes away from here. I think he suffers. I think he rethinks
life a little bit.
He rethinks everything after fighting Canelo. So we'll see. Now, that's my opinion, but I really wanted to see Canelo match up with challenges. I just don't know how much of a challenge
Benavidez
type. We needed there's a lot of good fights going on in boxing, so there's no reason to say, hey, I'm gonna go fight Jaime Munguia. It's like not necessary.
But what is he, 43-0?
He is. Oh, he's got a padded record. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the level of the competition, he fought 43 C to B level fighters, tier 3 guys, so it's gonna look great for sure, right? We'll see.
He fought 43 gardeners.
Essentially, 22 hibachi chefs. So, he should do good. He's young. He's hungry. So, he's not going to get the dub. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Speaking of interesting fights, our favorite topics, matchups that will absolutely never happen, right? Got to talk about those. So, we got a good one this time, right? All right. Hear me out. Showtime, Sean Porter versus a prime Zab Super Judah. How do we feel about these two guys going toe to toe?
Never really been that big on Sean Porter. I mean, all respect to him. He's a warrior. All respect to Sean Porter. But I like Zab Judah in this matchup.
Interesting.
I like Zab Judah in this matchup because a prime Zab Judah was fast.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was way faster than Sean Porter.
Okay.
In my opinion. He's way faster. And he had a pop on him. And he's southpaw. And when he got you in trouble, he went for the kill. Zab Judah when he was in his prime, if he got you in trouble, he was going for the kill.
All right, I can see that. All right.
So for me, the quick lefty to me wins this fight. All respect to Zab Judah. Shout out to Zab Judah and Sean Porter, but I got to go with Zab Judah in this one.
I'll say this: I'm not the biggest fan of Sean Porter, but I'll argue this: during Zab's prime, at times he was known to get tired, right? In the second half of the fight, it was like Zab could potentially gas out. And the guys who beat or stopped or dropped Sean Porter, they did it late in the fight. Sean Porter gets stronger as the fight goes on. He doesn't stop. He's still relentless. He's a live dog. 10, 11, 12. So once this fight gets into the second half, once we get into the championship rounds, if Zab Judah isn't in the best shape of his life, Sean Porter gives him hell. And for that reason, I think that Sean Porter could have actually beat a prime Zab Judah. Headbutts and all. It's ugly.
Headbutts and all.
He gets the job done. And I think that Sean Porter actually might even stop a prime Zab Judah. He might gas out.
So I'll agree with you there. I think if the fight ends in the first half, probably Zab Judah. If it ends in the second half, probably Sean Porter. But I will say this. What did Terrence Crawford, when he fought Sean Porter, what did he drop him with? What was one of the shots he dropped him with?
A hook? A left hook?
He dropped him in the southpaw stance, right? He dropped him with a left uppercut.
Okay.
Right? That's one of the things that Zab Judah was known for dropping people for. Southpaw stance, that left uppercut. He dropped a lot of people like that. And I just think maybe Sean Porter runs into that early.
He could.
Because I don't think Sean Porter was known for having the greatest defense in the world.
Not at all.
Right? Not at all.
He could run himself into a punch.
He could run himself into a punch. And I could see that happening against somebody like Zab Judah, who loved to throw that left uppercut.
I think for me, the guys, think about, Spence dropped Porter, but it was late. Crawford dropped Porter, but it was late in the fight. We're talking about it was in the championship rounds. Porter makes it through the first half of that fight. He ups the ante knowing that Zab Judah could potentially gas out. And I think he's a little bit too much. He turns that bulldozer on, and Zab Judah, he's known he wears emotions on his sleeve. He gets irritated, he gets frustrated, and he could have been open for one of those leaping headbutts that Sean Porter might have hit him with. So, great matchup, but I think
that would be a good matchup.
I think Sean Porter, I'm not gonna be disrespectful and say he stops him or knocks him out, but it's one of those gritty performances that I think Sean Porter, I think he could have beat Zab Judah. I think
but I kind of what you're explaining, I think is maybe one of the only ways. Like if he drags him into deep water and he mauls him, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, he would have to. He would have to do it that way. Other than that, Zab is probably a little bit too skilled. His boxing technique is far superior, and so he would have to bank on maybe going to the body early to stop Sean Porter from being able to be so aggressive late. But Zab gasses out, man. Sean Porter
again, we talking about a prime. Both of these guys are in their prime, right? They ain't gassing out and doing all this other stuff. These are prime.
Sean Porter comes off of his feet for a left hook
into a left uppercut and gets dropped.
All right. So thinking about that fantasy matchup, we're talking about welterweights from this era, matching them up with guys from the past, welterweights, lightweights. We talked about the big fish earlier, so throwing him into a matchup, we've got Errol Spence versus Tito Trinidad. How does that matchup play out?
Man, this one's a lot closer. This fight's a lot closer in my opinion. Man, what I got in this one? Spence versus Tito, huh? I think I got to go with Spence.
You going with Spence?
I think I got to go with Errol Spence.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I got to go with Errol Spence in this one.
What does Spence do that Tito wouldn't have been prepared for? How does give me that game plan? How does Spence break down Tito Trinidad?
I think that Spence avoids the left hook. First of all, that's the number one thing. He avoids the hook. Okay, and I think he kind of walks Tito down. And then just like we talked about with the last matchup, it would be smart for Spence to kind of take Tito in the deep water. Walk him down, take him into deep water, chop him down with body shots, and he could potentially put out a UD in this one.
Tito Trinidad puts on a Bud-like performance.
but is the skill level the same? Did Tito have the same type of skill level as a Bud Crawford?
A prime Tito was sharp.
No, he was. But I'm talking about the same skill level.
Crawford might be generational. So, I mean, skill level.
So it's not a good right? It's not a good comparison then, right? If we talking about skill level.
Spence comes in, his head is always online. His head is never offline. And so I think Bud exposed that. So straight, crisp, effective punches, which Tito definitely would have thrown.
For sure.
I think it may have been just a matter of will between the two. Because Spence is going to keep coming for you. He's not going to move his head offline. He's there to break you. But if you can't be broken, what's the next game plan for Spence?
Do you feel like Tito couldn't be broken
later in his career?
I think he could be. I think he could be broken, and that's why I think again, if Spence just kind of takes him in deep water, doesn't jump the gun on anything, uses his jab, stays away from that left hook.
And he sends Spence back to Cabo. He goes back on vacation for a year. He pops out later like, "Hey, I'm back. I'm still the big fish."
I think he definitely be the big fish against Tito. That's my opinion.
Tito was nice, man. He was a good, effective boxer. He had some pop on his punches,
A whole lot of pop.
And not too many people were just able to just walk him down. So I don't think that Spence does it.
I think Spence is the type of talent that could do that, though. That's what Dallas, Texas. Like, I think he could do it.
I think the big fish drowns in that one. I don't know.
Man, this is still hangover from the Crawford fight, man.
He's been out of the ring since, so we have nothing else to go off of. He's got to get back in the ring. He's got Spence, man. We're waiting on you, Errol, the true Spence. We were all fans before Crawford laid them paws on you, so you got to come back, man.
We still fans, man.
Man, you can't just hop in the ring on Fundora like that, man. You got other things, other guys you got to fight, man. It's
but
important.
I think Fundora would be a good fight back, though.
Think so?
A little tough, honestly.
I like that fight. We touched on that. Spence definitely needs a guy who he can, get his respect back on. And you
don't think Fundora is that?
Yeah, for sure. With the performance, a lot of respect earned by Fundora with that performance that he had last night. He showed a lot of grit.
Yeah.
And stylistically, it's probably a nightmare for everybody.
And I still remember that fight went between him and Erickson Lubin.
Did Lubin bad.
Man, that was man. So I got a lot of respect for Fundora, man. And anybody who beats him, a lot of respect to them.
I'm surprised Lubin is even still fighting.
Yeah, that was a tough night for Erickson, though. But I like Erickson, though. Shout out to Erickson Lubin. He's a good fighter, too. But yeah, Fundora's a problem for everybody.
I remember after that Lubin fight, he himself posted a picture of that Martin photo when he fought Tommy Hearns.
Man, that's pretty much what happened to him. He was lumped up all over the place, man. But when you fight somebody that's 6'6", man, and you're average height 5'8", 5'9", 5'10",
right?
Yeah, it's tough
for that weight class. It's extremely tough. So interesting. There's a lot of big fights, man, that are happening in boxing. We've still got, Fury Usyk. We've got Haney Garcia. That Fury Usyk undercard's got Jai Opataya marries Brady's. The return of Kovalev. Don't know who asked for that, but he's coming back. June 1st, that's loaded 5-on-5. Matchroom versus Queensberry. They just mentioned the weight classes. They haven't said who those guys are going to fill those slots. Undisputed for Beterbiev, Bivol. Unfortunately, we got Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. We've already touched on that. So a lot of exciting fights coming up in the world of boxing.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Triumph Boxing and Martial Arts, located in Indianapolis, Indiana, 9546 Allisonville Road. JMC and Davo to the World Blow. We out.